policy procedure should include the process of the digital dividend, not just the 800 megahertz one, but the one in the other bands, because there is an added value that we can achieve and a dynamic that we can put into the management of the spectrum. Then on political guidance for international negotiations, Article 8A4 of the telecom package now allows the Commission to put forward common political objectives for international negotiations. With the new framework of the Lisbon Treaty, there is, I think, an extra impact to be had from this Commission power. How does the Commissioner see it? And lastly, there was a recommendation from Mr. Viola on implementing the package without delay, because the whole key on both the RSPG competence and the Commission competence and the Commission Member State Parliament shared competencies, everything is going to be decided in that framework. So everyone has to play their role fully, and that means that the package has to be transposed as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you. I think we take 3 comments at a time, and then we get the opportunity to answer the 3 questions and comments, so that we can ensure a bit dynamic in the debate. Up there, the lady, please present yourself when taking the word.
Ich bin Sabine von Zantier und komme von der Vertretung des...
My name is von Zantier and I come from the Lower Saxony Federal State Representative Office here in Brussels. This is a very early conference. There's a lot of impetus behind it. But we are, after all, here in Parliament, so this is a kind of democratic function of radio that ought to be mentioned. I wonder how the Commissioner sees that, because democracy implies pluralism at several levels. You have to get a balanced opinion on policy issues. You need pluralism in the sense that all citizens groups needing to be represented, minorities, older people, for example. You also need plural supervision of the media. And fourthly, importantly, democracy means that you have to have democracy in terrestrial functions, because that gives everybody access to the media, direct and cheap access to the media, and that is something that people need to be have guaranteed in the future. And I think if this conference is happening in Parliament, then part of the outcome ought to be to ensure that this democratic function is safeguarded. Thank you for that. Now, my colleague from Parliament again. Well, as a member of the Culture Committee and the Regional Committee, I'd like to pick up what the previous speaker spoke about. It was made very clear in the debate that there has to be a balance between different requirements of different media sectors in the spectrum debate. You have radio frequencies for radio, an important democratic element, constitutional entitlement to information. On the other hand, there are new possibilities of telecommunications which have to be made available. So I want to stress that the use of the 800 frequency is going to have to be carried out in a very balanced way. I can see that there are opportunities for new technologies, for new markets, but it has to be done in a balanced way. We also need to bear in mind that there are not just possibilities for new uses of frequency. You also have to consider costs. And I say this as someone who's responsible for local authorities. There are a lot of things in the 800 megahertz band which can be done in public areas, in theatres, for example. And those things need to be made available still in the future at a moderate cost. That needs to be included in the whole debate. It's not just the strongest ones who need to be given their chance. We need to remember the disadvantages in cost terms, for example, to some present users.
Schönen Dank. Und jetzt gebe ich die...
Thank you. Now, answers from up here. Let's start with Mr. Viola.
An die erste Kommentar.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I really would like to thank Mrs. de Castillo and Mr. Trautmann for the comments. We have been working, I've been humbling, suggesting some ideas during the discussion of the reform of the telecom package, so they know me and they know my commitment to make sure that Europe can always deliver to the excellence. And here we are talking about excellence. Mrs. Trautmann has rightly pointed one particular aspect that it is indeed in my presentation, and I intentionally did not stress too much. The ambition of the RSPG opinion is to go a little bit beyond the present framework, a little bit. We know the compromise that has been reached, and Mrs. Trautmann knows it, I think, better than anybody else. And I think, as also Mrs. del Castillo has stressed, time is of the essence, as Commissioner Kroes has said, time is of the essence. And we have one region that is openly declaring, and is in the internet, that wants to lead the world in wireless technology. It's open in the air. Europe needs to respond, can say, well, we are not in the race, we are not interested to be in the race, we have other objectives. But I believe the point is that Europe is already in the lead. Europe used to have the best research programme of the world, civil